When I found out that the leader of the opposition in Singapore's parliament had given an interview in Malaysia, I asked why. It was posted on the 24th of June. A few days later, the ruling party magazine, PETIR, published a critical article on the KL interview. It said, and I quote, "Politics should stop at the water's edge," unquote. It also quoted opposition legend Chiam See Tong saying, "Above all, in the opposition, we must be good, patriotic Singaporeans. We must not go around the world denouncing Singapore," unquote. Now, what appeared damning was that Pritam Singh chose to give his first exclusive interview after GE 2025 to the Malaysian media instead of Singapore. He spoke to a highly popular podcast platform called Keluar Sekejap, or KS in short. The lead anchor, Khairy Jamaluddin, is not just an Oxford-trained, accomplished journalist. He's a well-known Malaysian political figure. He was the health minister during the COVID pandemic. The co-anchor is Shahril Sufian Hamdan, who served as the head of information management of the United Malay National Organization, or UMNO, and was its vice youth chief until 2023. Now, these are seasoned journalists and political figures from a country that's not exactly a cheerleader of Singapore. Why would a Singapore politician walk into the lion's den, so to speak? I know I would probably not agree to be interviewed on Singapore politics by Malaysian journalists. But then, I'm not Pritam Singh. He didn't become a seasoned, successful opposition politician without taking risks. He's used to curve balls. He knows exactly how to catch them and throw them back. Regardless, there are two big questions. One, did Pritam confuse taking a calculated risk with recklessness? Second, is he guilty of washing our dirty linen in public, the Malaysian public at that? The first thing I did was to watch the entire 1.5 hours of the podcast. It was evident to me that Pritam had done his homework. He knew how he wanted to come across, the tone, and how he would manage the curveballs. See, I've been in this business of coaching CEOs and C-suite officers in this area for 3 decades, and I can tell you, Pritam was a natural. Not because Khairy went soft on him. He made Khairy feel that he was baiting Pritam when actually it was Pritam who was baiting the interviewer. Khairy was feisty when he said, quote, "Your founding prime minister was a street fighter when he faced off against the communists and the left. Shouldn't you be a street fighter inciting Singaporeans?" Now, most interviewees would have been thrown off by this line of questioning. Pritam did not fall for it. At the risk of coming across tepid or even weak to those who are weaned on cockfights, the Singapore leader of the opposition actually acknowledged that the PAP ran a tight election campaign with no gaffes. The opposition, he said, had little maneuver space. It was a deliberate statement by Pritam that we do things differently in Singapore compared to Malaysia. His tone was deceptively cordial. Now, for the second big question, did Pritam wash our dirty linen in public? Frankly, I saw no reason to think so. Yes, he did say, quote, "The original sin in Singapore politics, in my view, is gerrymandering. It is aggressive gerrymandering, if you ask me," unquote. Frankly, this is not unfair comment. Pritam Singh wouldn't have much credibility left if he didn't say something critical of the ruling party. It's understandable why the ruling party is uncomfortable, even jittery, when individuals go overseas and say unflattering things about what happens in our country. A few have done this. Chee Soon Juan, Francis Yao, and more recently, Lee Hsien Yang. Chee Soon Juan, as we know, has come a long way from being that type of an activist. I would say that the people are in general agreement with the government on these principles. But that doesn't mean that we should assume the worst of everyone who gives an interview abroad. The world has changed. We can't remain in the 1970s logic. We actually need all hands on deck. In fact, it is even of greater impact when an opposition member speaks up for Singapore and our government in an overseas forum. What more if it's someone with Pritam's panache. We should actually be thankful. After all, patriotism doesn't end at the water's edge.